On this week's GTA 5 o'clock, Easter eggs and jetpacks, we uncover some new information, more details about the making of GTA 5, plus how you can become part of the GTA 5 o'clock team. It's all right here on this week's GTA 5 o'clock. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 64 of GTA 5 o'clock. I'm your host James Jarvis and I'm joined as ever by Dan Dawkins. Hello Dan.
Good day.
Good day to you. So yes, as you heard at the top, coming up we have got some new information about the Easter egg and jetpack mystery, but just before that we've got some news and some nice new insights, Dan, about the making of GTA 5.
Yeah, this is an interview some people might have missed. It was with Edge Magazine and Edge Online, the sort of respective industry magazine and website. Now they spoke to Aaron Garbett, who's art director on GTA 5, and he had some interesting things to say about the making of the game. Now this may be something you realise, but I wasn't, I haven't heard it as explicitly. Now Rockstar say that they always build the world before they do anything else, and that's the starting point. And so Aaron Garbett said, the world is always designed before the game. He says we get the roads feeling good, the vistas working well, and we look at the skyline and the landmarks. And he says as the missions and story come together, I work with the level designers to place missions in key locations and to utilise as much of the world as we can. And he goes on to talk about what they knew at the start of the project, really, and that obviously is broadly that it was set in a fictional version of Los Angeles, and that they were going to have three characters. So he said, we did know the biographies of the three characters right from the start. So we knew we wanted to create an area for Trevor out in the sticks, which was obviously informing the geography. And he says he went out with Sam Houser, and he says he drove out into the desert and they eventually ended up visiting the Salton Sea. And he says we went to an area called Bombay Beach, and we're like half expecting a real life Trevor to burst out any second. And then he said after that, when they decided that was the area they'd build, they sent a full team out to the Salton Sea for a few days to build it out.
Yeah, for holiday.
Which is quite interesting. And then he says that Edge asked him what were the most valuable lessons you learned through previous GTAs that were transferable to this project. And Aaron Garbett said, well, the main thing is not to get locked down to anything. So he says whether it's a process, a plan, a goal, an asset or an idea, anything, just maintain a completely open mind and you adapt to the situation and look for a better way forward. So I guess it's kind of saying the nature of development is such that the best laid plans are always subject to change.
Yeah.
And then he talked a bit about it being almost like when he learnt to sculpt or paint, and that you create the broadest outline possible and you zero in on the detail. And I think that's really what they do. It's a really iterative process. So as he repeats, he says the world is built first, then the missions, then the structure, then the story. It's almost like they go, we've got this world, looks beautiful. What would be a cool idea for a mission, sort of irrespective of where it appears in the game? And that would tie up again with the bug log files we investigated, where there were threads of missions that seemed to appear early in development that are in fact later in the game's chronological structure. As I guess they worked out where to put them. And he says, structure's next, and finally story.
It's weird. It's not weird. It's interesting that story is almost last. Like it's like you say, they've built this massive breathing world, and then they go, well, what do we do with this? And they go, I guess we could blow that up, do this, and then go, I guess then they go to the script team and go, right, this is what's happening at some point. Can you tie it all together, please? Yeah,
like we've built this amazing set piece around, well, not the prison because that didn't happen, but something like that,
like the FIB building.
Engineer it into the game somehow. I guess it's they've done this a lot. I guess they find that the best way to work rather than trying to force through. I guess you have ideas that sound good on paper but mechanically are difficult. It's just an interesting way to work. Now they asked him, looking back, do you think the final version of the game matches up to your vision? And Aaron Garbett said, well, frankly, it's hard to remember the original vision now. And he said, we decided right at the start we wanted to do 3 switchable characters. We decided who they were, and we decided the general tone for the game. But then we just built it and evolved and let the game dictate itself. And then he says, this is interesting as well, I thought. He says, as a group of people, like the Rockstar North developers, we're never short of ideas. But he says, there is undoubtedly a huge volume of plans and ideas we have that we wanted to do to push it further, but we just couldn't. So I think he's just saying that they're having to consciously all the time hold stuff back.
Yeah, like scale it back, because because they've got too many brilliant ideas.
I know, and with all the ones we give them as well, it must be
exactly. It's overflowing there.
Simply too many. Now, it was interesting. They asked as well. They said like Los Santos is the closest you've done to like a real life city, really, in terms of its geography and its locations. How does that affect its design? Well, Aaron Garbett said, I'd never wanted to rebuild a city. This has got implications, I suppose, for the future of GTA, where people had said it's the real New York this time, or it's the real this. This is not his thinking. He says, I'd never want to rebuild a city. I think that would be a lot less satisfying, both for us to build and for the player to play. And he says, only a relatively small subset of players ever get to know the real LA or the real New York City. He says, most experience it through film or TV or through short visits. And that's a highly edited representation.
Yeah, it's almost like hyper-real, isn't it? I mean, everything you see in films, and even, I guess, if you go there for a weekend, you only see the massively touristy bits. You don't really get to have a look at the suburbs. And
there's no benefit in recreating the minutiae of, like, not much fun to drive back streets or, you know, traffic congestion areas just purely because they're accurate. There's no sense in that. So I think that's something he talked about, was the idea of when they built the city, they drive it and they assess the feel and the transition between areas, so it all just feels right. Now, something that Aaron Garbett said is critical to the entire feel of everything, he says it's the game's lighting system. And he talked about the difference it made on GTA 4, and he was saying that the real-time shadows that they previously sort of done statically, when they were added, it transformed the feel of GTA 4. He says similar thing on GTA 5, and he says it's vital, good lighting makes all the difference. He says, the first time I saw the shadows drawing all the way into the distance while flying over the city was one of those magic moments. He says, and that's when the lighting level of detail system came together. We had a world that seemed so much more alive at night time. You know, and lighting is one of the great successes of GTA 5.
Yeah, definitely.
But, you know, that's the gist of it. If you want to read more, check out the Edge interview that's still online. Are we able to put a caption on screen, James?
We might be able to do that. I'll definitely put the link in the description so you can go and check it out.
Okay, well, if we can do that, either click the link on screen now or check into the About description below.
Alright, so that's a little bit of how they made GTA 5. On now to a thing that you always ask about when we put out these shows and say, what do you want to have discussed? It's always mysteries and jetpack related and Easter egg stuff. We do a show on Fridays called GTA Fact or Fiction, so if you are interested in that stuff, there is a playlist on the channel right now. You can go and check out all those episodes, some of which are about the jetpack, in fact. But Dan, I've put together a few images here that you haven't seen yet, that you're going to react to live on air, as it were.
Yeah.
Some of these are really interesting, and it's interesting that these kind of things are being found still. A quick backstory, we've covered this before, but people have managed to get inside the files of GTA 5, and now they found a way to work out what all the file extensions mean, and have now managed to put them into 3D modelling programs to be able to pull out the exact models of everything. So they've actually managed to rebuild GTA, the whole map of GTA 5 inside one of these 3D modelling programs.
Yeah.
It's quite an expansive project and it's a massive file. I wouldn't recommend you open it unless you've got a giant PC. So first off then, Dan, I'm just going to pull up, you know, Omega's garage, which is where you find the Space Docker car.
Yes.
Now, if I can get this image up for you here. Now, here is his garage. And you can see there that it's got a strange partition in it. And there is almost like a back room there that you can see that is inaccessible in the game. Now, this has come from the GTA forums, a big thread in there about the Easter egg thread. And Spoony UK, which is SPOZI UK, has done a lot of this work. He seems to be the main guy who's digging through all the stuff and putting out these images. And he says there's something really strange about Omega's garage. It's a very small room, as you can see there, but the file is over 40 megabytes. Now, as a model to compare, the Pleasure Pier model, which is the big one that's down on Del Perro, is 31.5 megabytes. So that massive pier is smaller than this tiny room. There's a bunch of sub-objects in there too, and he's tried zooming out and panning everywhere, but there's nothing else to see apart from this empty back room. So that's weird for a start, that it's such a massive thing. Instant reaction on that? You don't seem very, very convinced.
I'm just trying to work out, so to be clear then, this is not an actual in-game asset, it's like a recreated one in a 3D package based on things from the source files. Is that right?
No, so this is the in-game model in a different program than the Voxstar would use.
So the model's pulled out. This is actually what the real model is.
Yeah, so they've pulled it straight out of the files.
Well, my reaction is that yes, it's interesting that it would be partitioned and you couldn't reach it. As regards the compression and the size of the thing, I don't know. I mean, is that just to do with the way, in the same way you can compress a JPEG or save things? Is it just to do with the fact the assets haven't been optimized in it?
Well, I think the point they would try and argue would be, why is it so big? It must be so big because it has hidden things in there.
Yeah, but let's say, right, we're all thinking it's the jetpack. Why would drawing a jetpack be like 20 extra meg or whatever it is?
Well, I don't know. I guess it would have a lot of extra stuff attached to it.
Unless it's hiding some secret underground layer or huge amounts of architecture we can't see. It just seems a little bit weird that 2 shelves and a box take up more than the entire pleasure pier.
Well, yes. I mean, get on the forums, Dan. Get a comment.
That's just my gut reaction. I mean, I don't know.
Well, speaking of giant rooms and things like that.
Yeah.
My next image that the same guy, Spoony UK, has managed to pull out is this. Now, do you recognise this, Dan? This is the inside of Mount Chiliad, and that there, appears to be a room under the cable car station. Now, you can't actually see inside it, so actually what it looks like is a square box. But why would that be there?
This is definite. This has been pulled from the...
the stuff around the outside there is the mountain, the model.
Yeah.
I don't know what the giant spikes coming through the floor are, but that square box there is the cable car station.
Well, I guess, it's either where you would go, could you access the lift, or that sort of secret door by the mural, or it's just there in the same way those big pipes are there. I mean, people did publish videos, glitch videos, of going underneath the world and flying underneath Mount Chiliad to look, and I don't remember this being as visible in those videos.
No, and I think the point of those videos are, and the way that these guys have been going through the files, have worked out how the programming works in GTA is interior models and things like this aren't necessarily loaded into the game until they're triggered by a certain event. Yes. So you could be flying under the map in a helicopter and not see a lot of the things that are on top of the world when you do it properly, just because they're not loaded in.
I could see that. That seems quite feasible. In which case, intriguing.
Well, next up is something that's not quite a mystery, but it's quite interesting. Here are the 2 UFOs in relation to the city, the Fort Zancudo UFO and the Chiliad UFO, I think, is these 2 here. Now you can see in relation to the city, they are miles up in the sky, and this is not actually where they're placed in the game, as far as I can establish from the forum threads. This is the these are the UFO collision models. Apparently, another forum member, El Dando, says these Z coordinates of the 2 UFOs match up exactly to the Fort Zancudo and the Sandy Shores UFOs, which probably means there definitely isn't any more flying discs up there in the air. There won't be a collision model for the Fort Zancudo UFO because technically there's nothing there. So this is why we only see 2 UFOs up here, because the Fort Zancudo one isn't a model because it's a hologram. So it's the one that disappears and reappears. These 2 are the ones that you can actually crash into. But then he goes on to say, hopefully Rockstar has all the really juicy stuff hidden extremely well, so I refuse to give up hope.
Okay.
So that's just an interesting thing that physical objects are in the world, and only now are they finding those physical objects. So there is potential for more physical objects to be discovered. They just have to go and find them somewhere. Next up, Dan, you'll remember the Mount Chiliad mural. Yes. I don't think we have to recap that for anyone. At the bottom, you've got a UFO, you've got the cracked egg, and then you've got the jetpack. Yeah. Well, I want your instant reaction to this image. Silence.
It's a It's the whatchamacallit?
This is the Griffith Observatory.
Right, like a cracked egg.
And it looks like there's a giant crack in the dome there.
Where's that coming from, though? Where they create? Because someone could have just drawn an orange line on a 3D map.
They could have done, but they haven't. This is how the models are put together. So for some reason that has been... I mean, I know the reason. I'm going to tell you in a minute.
Yes.
But for some reason that has been modelled in that way to almost look like it's sort of destructible.
Yes. Well, that's what that would imply, if I could say that's definitely real and is all legit.
Yeah. But unfortunately, IRL Dave M says that this looks like you were probably alluding to there, Dan, that this looks like collision grid stuff. So the collision grid map is divided into rectangles as much as possible. Sometimes a rectangle is further subdivided into sections, and the crack across the observatory here looks like it's part of a subsection. So if we look at the next model, which I haven't got down here, but we can put on the screen. Oh no, there it is.
Okay.
Yeah, if you look at this model, this is just how the cracks. So there's loads of different cracked lines all over the world of GTA, and it just so happens that that collision model takes that bit of the dome for some reason. So unfortunately, probably not going to explode if you hit it with a giant rocket launcher or a tank.
Yeah, inconclusive.
Yeah. Another thing in our GTA Online live stream that you, if you were part of that on Friday, or if you weren't, you can watch the highlights on the channel now. We went and had a beauty pageant down at the Hollywood Bowl, or the Vinewood Bowl, and I can't believe we missed it, Dan. While we were there, we should have seen this. This is a hidden room behind the stage at the Vinewood Bowl. I mean, it's hidden, so we wouldn't have seen it. Yeah. But you know, there's another interior model there that we can't get to. Maybe the Vinewood Bowl was going to be used as part of something else, and then wasn't.
Yeah, it does feel again like a large location that seemed more built out than it was actually used for. You know, I feel like there's some way that I'll come back to it.
Okay, a couple more things, because you seem quite exasperated by this now.
No, I'm fascinated by it, but it's hard to assess its legitimacy, isn't it, or what it means.
Here's the cable car station, and there is a room above it now. So there's one below, and now there's one above. So what that means is inconclusive, I'd say. But I mean, you could put stuff in that room.
Yeah. Maybe
you go through the doors somehow, and the doors open, and then you can go upstairs or downstairs, pick some stuff up. And finally, we've got the infamous bunker. You know, the bunker in Fort Zancudo. Yeah. Now, they've managed to find a model for this. They've had a look round it, and we can reveal now that the bunker shaft doesn't go anywhere.
Oh.
It's just a big square box. So, but don't lose all hope on that, because Spoonie UK says, however, it does seem at some stage that the inside of this bunker was changed to create a forced path. So there is still hope. And he has extra suspicion because the stairwell collision is doubled up. So we can see here the full interior before they changed it. So you can see the stairs down into the bunker. Yeah. Then the elevator shaft. Yeah. And then another room. And then afterwards, it's just been changed to an entranceway and then a massive block that makes you can't go into it really. Right. So they've taken out some stuff at some stage. Okay. Now, we've discussed this before, and it does seem to me now that there was definitely some kind of activity happening around Fort Zancudo, which at some stage got taken out. There's characters in the game that belong in Fort Zancudo that you can't, ever access or ever talk to. Like there's, we did a fact or fiction about secret phone numbers. There's a first sergeant there that you can ring up and you can get his voicemail, and he's like, "Oh, hey man," and the mission was meant to be that you took him back to Fort Zancudo and then got his phone number afterwards, and you could possibly ring him up and get him to do stuff. So it does look like there was something around Fort Zancudo that was cut. There's not that doesn't mean that they can't put it back in.
Yeah, let's say there's expansive single player DLC coming, so you know, hey.
So there you go. So if you want more on these mysteries and things, there is going to be another Factual Fiction on Friday, which revolves around some jetpack related things. If you saw the episode a few weeks ago, we've got some more leads on that. So tune in for that on Friday. All right, so let's move on then to finish with a couple of little videos that we've seen from around the community. Now, first up is some naughty modders. Saying naughty modders after just showing you all those pictures seems a bit redundant now. Yeah. But they've managed to get the content creator working inside a server in GTA Online free roam. So what this means is you can be driving around in a server in free roam, and then someone can just plonk a bus on your car, which is bad, probably. Yeah. Hopefully this won't sort of expand to the wider GTA community, where you don't know if you're loading up some kind of modded server and you're jumping in and suddenly like there's a tank on top of your apartment and you're in a lot of trouble. But yeah, stop doing that, because it's no fun for anyone. Like, it's fun for you for maybe like 5 minutes, and then after that it doesn't really seem to serve anything. But the wider question would be, Dan, obviously we know Rockstar can do this kind of thing with the crate drops, where you can get special weapons and things. It looks now like, even looking at this modded technology, that they could potentially drop anything into that world in the servers and have it permanently exist there. So you could get a situation of suddenly there's a new swimming pool or a statue or anything that suddenly appears in online, which leaves, you know, that's quite a cool thing.
Yeah, it's like when you showed it to me, like, it obviously could be disastrous if people were to get this power and somehow unleash it on the world, like, and there's people going around breaking and adding stuff to the game. Obviously that's weird. I don't think that will happen. But what is more interesting for me is that if you've got that ability to drop objects in real time and manipulate them outside of setting up formal missions, well, why not give us that ability you had in Skate 2 and 3 to, like, get quarter pipes, long ramps, straight ramps, and, like, stick a big ramp on a new part of Mount Chiliad or over a particularly great object, and let us really genuinely create our own stunts within GTA Online. I think that's where, as discussed previously, that's where GTA Online can expand and grow, by really letting people have the control over it. And whether that's stuff like giving our character 10 new funny hand signals and some dance moves, I can't believe I'm saying it, but copy some of the things PlayStation Home did.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm saying that. But, like, it would make the experience more fun outside of missions. Well, and part of that would be stunts.
Because the PlayStation Home stuff even had, you know, you did have your own individual apartment that you could put your own pictures up and your own furniture in it and stuff, and that kind of thing. Just a bit of personality, basically, is what you need to bring to it.
Even stuff with Home I thought was good was the ability to, like, go up to someone, do the Running Man in your completely unique, stupid set of clothes, and then type in a visible text box, how are you, or something, and start a conversation. And, like, with GTA you only can really do that with either internal messaging, which you can't see, or with a headset. With a headset you're not as inclined to do that kind of silly stuff. Also, it just is also scratchy and depressing, and you want little text boxes to do it.
There you are.
More ideas.
Add that to your notes, Rockstar. And finally, Dan, you sent me this morning. People have got so tired of not being able to access North Yankton in GTA 5 that they've just gone and created it in GTA 4.
Yeah, we talked about this on a previous show just a week or two back. People have started to rebuild all of GTA 5 using GTA 4 on PC. Well, now they've gone and made North Yankton, like the secret, you know, areas of North Yankton, but using the GTA 4 engine. And again, it's actually pretty decent.
Yeah. Okay, so that almost wraps up today's show, but before we go, we need your help. What we'd like is for you guys to get in touch with us using a brand new email address which Dan has set up.
Yeah, now it's called contactgatavoclock@gmail.com. So the actual email address is as I've said it. It's contactgatavoclock@gmail.com. You'll see it on screen. Now, what we want you to do is to get in touch with us. We're looking to recruit some, like, benevolent warlords or organisers to help us administer big parts of the GTA 5 o'clock community. One is we're looking for someone who can help us out on Facebook, who might be able to post an interesting story, ask a few relevant questions, relink to other exciting things in the GTA universe. Really light touch. You know, we can't promise to pay you a fortune or indeed really anything. All we can do is, you know, chuck you a few t-shirts and anything sweet in those terms. But, you know, really it's just a very light touch thing. If you're willing to help us out, fantastic, great. See how it goes. We're also looking for someone, which may or may not be the same person or persons, to help us administer the crews on Social Club. We've got 3 crews, potentially up to 1,000 members each. We've had problems with the like software breaking every time we accept more than a certain number of people.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice to have someone who can help us administer and shape the online crew. So if you're interested in that as well, do get in touch. Now, we do need like people who have got strong standards of written English, particularly for Facebook. Preferably people with experience of posting, hosting and curating content. It might be your own blog, it might be something semi-professional, or you know, you just want to do this as a bit of fun. And you know, same with Social Club. If you've got experience in Social Club and running crews, that is much preferable. So if you're interested in either of those roles or a joint role with both, get in touch with us at contactgtavoclock@gmail.com and just say, like, you know, call it Facebook/Social Club
Whatever
application, and then, you know, sell yourself and what you've done to us, and then, you know, if that sounds cool, we'll pick someone out and give it a try and see how it goes. And we're hoping that, you know, the problem's been that James and I have only got finite time, we're not able to manage it as much as we'd like, so hopefully you can help make the GTA 5 o'clock community better, and we'd be really grateful. Thank you.
Yeah, if you've got any experience in sort of forum modernization or anything like that, that will probably really help, because it's just going to be, you know, speaking with the community and you know, reacting and helping us out with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Alright, so thanks for listening to this week's GTA 5 o'clock. If you want to get in touch on Twitter, you can at GTAB o'clock, or as Dan said, on Facebook, facebook.com/GTAB o'clock. We'll be back on Friday for another brilliant live stream, which will go out at 4 PM GMT. But if you can't make that, there'll be a highlights on Monday, and then we'll be back a week today on Wednesday for another episode of GTA V o'clock.